Imagine for a moment that you're underwater, not in a shallow pool, but out at sea. The current is strong. Everything around you is dark. And no matter how wide you open your eyes, you can't see a thing, not even bubbles, not even the sky. You try to swim, but you don't know which way to go. The surface has vanished. Now stop and think, what if this dive, this lack of direction, isn't just a scene in your mind? What if that's exactly what's happening in your life right now? A phase where you're moving, trying to fix things, gasping for air, but deep down you're lost, disoriented, not knowing whether you're rising or sinking even deeper. But here's something important. You're not alone in that water. And maybe, just maybe, what you're feeling right now isn't the end, but the beginning of a return to the surface, a return that's stronger, wiser, more whole. Years ago, a woman passionate about speed was steering a racing boat. The engine roared. The wind hit her face. She felt alive, but all it took was one wrong turn, one wave higher than expected. And within seconds, everything flipped. Literally, the boat flew through the air like a leaf in the wind, and she was violently thrown into the water. The impact was so strong that, as she sank, she found herself in a deep, dark, silent place with no visual reference. Down there, she no longer knew which way was up. She tried opening her eyes but saw nothing. Her body spun, her mind was dizzy, and all she could feel was fear. Now listen to this carefully. She was wearing a life jacket. And still, she didn't know where the surface was. She couldn't trust her instincts. And that's exactly where this story connects with yours. How many times in real life have you experienced an invisible accident? That moment when everything was moving fast, under control, and suddenly something happens and you find yourself at the bottom, emotionally, spiritually, professionally, unclear, directionless. You keep moving, but don't know if you're rising or sinking. And then comes the million-dollar question. What did she do? How does someone get out of a place so dark, so lonely, when you can't even see the way out? That answer could change the way you deal with your own storms. Her body was thrown like a piece of paper. The blow was sharp, unexpected. And when she hit the water, she didn't sink gently. She was dragged down violently, as if the ocean floor wanted to keep her. The pressure tightened in her ears. Everything spun. She tried to get her bearings, but saw no light, no bubbles, no sound. It was like being trapped in a wet, heavy silence. Dizzy, without knowing which direction was up. Her mind wanted to scream, "Swim, do something!" But her body wouldn't respond. And then she made a simple and rare decision. She didn't fight the water. She didn't thrash around. She trusted. She trusted the life jacket. Trusted that even without seeing, something invisible was working. And she waited. It wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of wisdom. Because at that moment, any frantic movement could have pulled her deeper. So she stayed still. And little by little, as if lifted inside a quiet embrace, the buoyancy started to work. She began to feel her body rising gently, effortlessly, and then the light returned. Now listen with your heart. Maybe you are in this exact part of the story. Maybe life threw you down so fast, so suddenly, that you're dizzy, not knowing what to do, surrounded by voices telling you what you should do. Fight back. Chase it. Don't stop now. But none of those voices clearly show you where the surface is. And that's when most people get lost. Psychologists call this cognitive confusion in the midst of chaos. It's when the brain, overwhelmed by fear and uncertainty, loses its natural compass. You don't know whether to react, freeze, or wait. Your mind is active, but your vision is blurred. Theologians see this moment through a different lens. They say it's the exact point where God invites us to stop. Not because we gave up, but because He wants us to trust before acting. It's the kind of waiting that doesn't paralyze. It prepares. It's faith in the form of patience. And seasoned spiritual leaders often agree. It's in this gap, between shock and solution, that we learn how to listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the whisper of the right direction. But then the real, human question arises. How do you cultivate patience when everything is spinning around you? How do you not panic when your heart races, your thoughts collide, and nothing seems to change? The answer isn't about controlling everything, nor fighting the whirlpool. It's in something more accessible, and more powerful, learning to trust even when you can't see. Understanding that patience is not passivity, it's an act of inner resistance. And the truth is, the more you try to control the timing of your breakthrough, the further you drift from it. But when you surrender, with wisdom, with faith, with trust, that's when the current starts carrying you upward. What if what you're living right now, this pain, this confusion, this feeling of being lost, isn't the end? What if it's actually the push that will bring you back to the surface? Think about this. What if this hard moment is the silent, invisible turning point that's about to reposition, redefine, and rebuild you? Now, an even deeper question. Are you ignoring the life jacket that's already with you? Yes, that quiet resource you may not even notice anymore. Maybe it's a faith you've forgotten to nurture, a piece of advice you heard but didn't absorb, or even your own intuition, that calm voice trying to speak in the middle of the chaos. Would you know how to recognize when it's time to fight with force, and when it's time to trust and allow yourself to rise? Most people don't drown because they ran out of air, but because they ran out of guidance. They struggle. They burn out trying to solve everything in a rush, but they never learned how to wait with wisdom. Why do so many people drown emotionally, spiritually, even physically? Simply because they don't know when to stop, breathe, and trust? Maybe you're 1 inch from the light. Maybe your surface is much closer than it seems, but it will only appear when you stop trying to control everything alone. The truth is, and not every miracle makes noise. Sometimes God's silence isn't absence, it's movement. It's the rising force happening invisibly. That's why, even when nothing seems to be changing on the outside, minutes, hours, days of waiting can actually be an internal process of realignment, a silent preparation for your return to the light. While you read the Bible, while you pray, while you take a deep breath and choose not to give up, something is being reorganized within you. You can't see it. You can't feel it. But it's happening. And when the time comes, and it always comes, you will rise. Not the same way you fell, but with a new awareness, stronger, calmer. And in that moment, you'll realize the surface never stopped existing. It was just waiting for you to stop struggling and start trusting. Sometimes what saves you isn't how well you swim, it's how well you float. Trust in the invisible. Trust that God's hand, even in silence, never stopped holding you. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's also trying to find the surface. Leave a comment here. I choose to trust and float, just so I know you're here holding on. And if you want more messages that rescue you from the inside out, subscribe to the channel. The light may seem distant now, but it's closer than you think.